Hi folks. Since I have my Elkton upside down for lubrication, I thought I'd use the opportunity to point out a few things we don't usually pay attention to. This first knurled coupling down here is the water line, which runs up to the axle pump right there, and then the return crosses over to the other side of the engine and runs down to the bypass valve. As you can see, the bypass valve is easily switchable. It sticks out there and you can easily turn the pump on or off. The return hose from the tender just sticks on to that unthreaded pipe end. The knurled coupling below the water line is the gas line. It runs up into the cab and the throttle or regulator. It's actually above and behind when the engine is upright. I figure my viewers know how to lubricate their engine, so I'll zip through that part of my preparations. Now I'll show you why I'm not fond of dead leg lubricators, at least the Accucraft Aster ones. These screws are very shallow and don't easily seat into their holes, but more importantly, the thick steam oil won't flow easily into the reservoir. It will stick to the sides of the hole. Sometimes I'll actually poke it with a stick to break the adhesion and continue pouring. But when my patience runs out, it's time to use this brass syringe and force the steam oil in. And luckily, I got the screw to fit in pretty easily this time. I usually use a normal squeeze bottle to fill the boiler, but for this first time, I tried to get an accurate measurement of just how much water the boiler takes. It topped out at about 250 milliliters, which is about 8.5 ounces. Of course, you pull 30 milliliters out to allow for steam expansion, so the working volume is about 220 milliliters. Now, I noticed during the unboxing video that there were a few droplets of water in the sight glass. So is it possible the boiler wasn't completely dry? I doubt there would have been enough to seriously interfere with my measurement, so I'll stick to 220 milliliters. Here's another thing that I've noticed, which is similar to a problem I had originally with my C18. If you look here, the fuel and water hoses, especially I believe this is the water hose, the longer one on the outside, ride very close to the rail. And this is at a second detent that I've put on the coupler to pull the tender back a little bit. When I had the tender closely coupled, that rubber of that hose was right down on the rail. Finally, it was time to bring the Elkton to the next Wednesday water boil, a weekly gathering of local steamers. The Elkton came out of her transport box. I fueled up and put water in the tender to keep the gas from getting too cold and to pump into the boiler when needed. Cliff helped me light her off as I adjusted the fuel pressure. Elkton lit first time with a satisfying pop. So now it's time to watch the pot and see if she comes to a boil. Apologies for the choppy quality of this video. I've discovered that it's hard to run an engine and film it at the same time. If it's popping off, then we should either put the throttle down or...
Bring down the fuel. Looks good.
Yeah. Let's slow things down for a bit and examine the drive action. Listen for the chuffs. I'd say the timing was pretty spot on. After running light for several loops, I hooked on a brass CMP caboose and opened the throttle. Elkton ran loop after loop at a pretty good clip. Clearly, the engine could have pulled a much longer consist. And there's still water in the tube?
Yeah.
After running a while, Cliff saw that the sight glass level was going down, so he turned the bypass valve to force more water into the boiler. The engine ran for about 45 minutes before I broke for lunch and gave somebody else a chance at the inside track. And there was still gas in the tank and water in the boiler. So we have yet to find the limits of the Elkton.
This is his first run.
Well, there's one last thing, isn't there always? Remember these things? They're called out as cylinder blowdown pipes. And when I saw them in the bag of extras, I dismissed them as being purely cosmetic pieces of metal. They looked like they would be a pain to attach, and I was a little anxious about ground clearance, so I left them off. That may have been a mistake, because at the Steamup, when I pushed the lever that opened the cylinder cocks, Elkton ran for a few feet and stopped, with the steam coming out of the cylinders in an amorphous cloud. When I closed the cylinder cocks, Elkton immediately perked up and ran again. It was like throwing a switch. It turns out that these little tubes are actually functional pipes, and these devices are sort of exhaust manifolds. I'm guessing that they would better control the pressure of the blowdown and prevent the extreme loss of pressure. Now, in our scale, we don't really need blowdown valves, they just look cool. Usually we just roll our engines back and forth a bit when starting up to clear any water from the cylinders. So I'm asking for advice. What would you do? Screw the blowdown pipes into the cylinders? Or just do a simple blowdown at the start of your run? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, have fun on the tracks.